if you're American when you go into the bathroom and you're American when you come out of the bathroom, what are you while you're in the bathroom?
European.
Dang.
Speaking of Europeans,
We're not gonna jump right into that, but welcome everybody to Street Smart Christian.
yeah,
I'm happy to be joined here with my colleagues Kevin and Antone.
and Brandon.
I always say Brandon first, and then you get all mad. So I was gonna say Brandon.
Well, you
Last.
didn't this time.
I was going to be last this time because I didn't show up last week. So that makes me laugh.
Yeah, this is your 20th chance to prove yourself.
Yeah.
20th chance.
Lucky for you, we don't have any other producers.
Antone's the backup producer.
He was gonna have a friend that came here, which might be the ninja of all this. So
Oh, yeah.
Your friend?
Who is this?
Yeah, his name is Noah Nelson.
Noah.
Like Noah
Ark.
and the Ark?
It's all right. When he shows up
Spelled
here,
the
so
same?
Antone wants Noah to get acquainted with us so that he could fill in for Antone when he's doing things
Planes.
like flying planes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
It's like, get your priorities together, Antone, but whatever.
Gonna be flying around the world.
Yeah. Scoping areas out that we're going to fly to.
He's
Yeah.
gonna be sharing the gospel from the sky.
Yeah. We're going to fly to places.
You do one of these podcasts in a plane? That'd be kind of cool.
Like snakes on a plane, but we're not snakes.
Yeah. And you'll be like this whole time.
Why? Are you afraid of flying?
I'm not. I said you.
You're afraid of flying, dude. It's okay.
I think you have this thing where like you're not afraid of flying, but if you're like Antone's flying us, I feel like you're gonna be the one that comes up to me like,
Dude,
"Hey, do you think he's all right, right?"
I trust him more than I trust you.
Flying, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
He's already flown planes.
Have you?
Yeah.
Damn, dude. What am I doing? with
Like
my
little
life?
little crop duster planes.
I had
I
I,
flew-
had Antone come on this podcast to fill that void of my what am I doing with my life? So he's here to fill that void.
Well, you just interrupted
However-
a producer and him having a conversation.
My bad. You too.
I flew an old Citabria that Ryan
Oh.
Stewart had, and then I flew a Cessna
fly with
172.
Ryan?
I did. Yeah, he's the one who got me interested in it.
That's awesome, man.
Yep. He told me one day, he goes, because he asked what I wanted to do with my future. And so then he goes, I said, I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't necessarily want to do blue collar, but I don't necessarily want to sit at a desk all day. And he goes, why don't you let me take you up on my plane? We'll see if you like it. And fell in love with it.
Dude.
I've known Ryan for a long time, and he never even asked me my name.
Dude, you don't look like you could be a pilot. I'm sorry.
He didn't
Just
say,
gonna
"Hey, Adam, what do you want to do with your future?" He was like, "You're going to be painting the church in like 2 years." I want to give a shout out real quick. Give credit where credit is due, because somebody besides Meredith has been commenting on our podcast, and that's Auntie Sylvia.
That's my tia, dude.
Yeah, and she commented the last podcast when she yelled through her message, "Kevin, listen to him." And that was awesome. So I was like, yeah, listen to him.
I
And
bet
then,
you like
It
that.
went straight to his head.
And then she,
If you're hearing this,
she-
tia,
yeah, it did. It went
Really
right to my head. But this last comment was awesome because she said, not only welcome Antone, and you're such a great, but she said, you guys, this was the best podcast because you guys touched on a really touchy subject and you stuck to that subject and you pretty much walked it out. You guys got right to the subject. You stayed on that subject, and it was a much needed, talked about subject. And so she said, "Great, great podcast. One of the greatest, best ones you guys done." So
Best one ever in the history of all podcasts.
yeah, and it was the one that, yeah.
so we got to top it.
So yeah, so Tia, we're gonna talk about music, movies, and what's going on in evangelical news. We'll end it with
Can you
with that big one.
play the clip of what we're going to talk about?
The
I
clip.
can send it to you. I can send you clips and then you can cut it up.
Oh yeah. What? There's a clip. You guys didn't even tell me about the clip.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about a pastor, and you can, just like you did with Sadie,
Put a picture up.
Alistair Begg.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And you can put him up here. Alistair Begg, that's going to be the topic of how people feel about what's going on with that.
That's a sore topic.
But there was a topic I brought up on one of my shorts that I do. I usually do Bible verses and go dissecting those, and I don't, our podcast audience or even our social media presence doesn't react a lot to those. So one day, which I put out there, give me some questions. That's when we got the women behind the pulpit, their role. And then I did another one about what we talked about in our podcast that's going to be coming up about jealousy kind of things and how to do that. This week I did one about music. And the reason...
You listen to Bethel, don't you?
No. Well, I did a thing on music because we all probably have, Kevin and I probably have, as far as I know, some of the closest musical tastes.
Yeah, we're.
But
pretty similar.
when you're born again, you become a Christian, and obviously the Holy Spirit takes hold of yourself and sets up camp, and so sinning all of a sudden becomes a problem. We still sin, but it's not as fun anymore. But we listen to music, and there was music that we listened to before we were born again. There's music that we still listen to right now, and it's not always worship music. And please note that not all worship music is probably great, but I'm not going to put them in a box because of the other music that we might listen to.
Yeah.
So I can't point fingers at all these worship leaders and stuff like that that are, singing what's obviously bad worship music if I'm going to turn on Slipknot as soon as I'm done cursing them out. You know what I mean?
Christian, who
So what the worship teams that I'm like, that's blasphemous, that is not good to sing in church. And then I listen to the Heretic Anthem by Slipknot and go do chores, and I'm like getting amped up about it, you know what I mean?
Are you trying
Or
to?
I'm listening to Adidas
just
from Korn.
picture you in the goat pit, just like punching the air.
First off, I don't have goats.
What are they singing? You said they were singing Slipknot in church.
No. I'm saying I can't point fingers at
Oh,
worship bands,
Because he
and
listens to Slipknot.
there's so many. You can listen to a bunch of podcasts and stuff like that with some biblical scholars and people that are in, and they're like, "Hey, stay away from Hillsong, stay away from Bethel,
oh really?
and stay away from, you know what I mean? Those kind of, because
Bethel.
of their worship is, it's not theologically sound, it's not biblically sound, it's just noise,
Oh,
and people are getting the wrong feeling of it. And
Isn't it still-
legitimately so, these people can be calling it out, just like you're supposed to call out false teachers. And
it's not all just worship music.
I think it really depends. And
mean,
this
what do
may
you-
not this may
yeah.
not be like popular opinion, but for me, like obviously you can't be like worshiping God while you're listening to Slipknot. But when it comes to other music, like I enjoy instrumental music with no words. And
Right.
to me, whenever that stuff comes on, I take time to reflect and talk to God, and and it's good to do it without any sound, but that's a common baseline for me is that type of music. And for me, that can be considered worship. If you take that opportunity to spend that time with God and have that music, You know, it's used. It's not worship music. It maybe wasn't made to be worship music, but I use it that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like Adam said, when you're convicted, when you're born again and you're following Christ, Holy Spirit will convict you on the words you say. Not only the music you listen to, but the words you say and the people you spend time with.
Here's my question to you, Kevin, and maybe Antone, maybe it'll hit home to you too. But I know Kevin and I have really close musical taste. Is there music that you listened to before you were truly born again and took your faith walk seriously? Was there music that you were like, this slaps, this is on fire? Like, you know what I mean?
Slaps. Yeah.
And now you might have not have heard that song for a few years and it comes on and you're like, hey, and then it just leaves a different taste in your mouth now.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it wasn't that long ago. I think it was like 2020, 2021, where I have all this music that I listen to is on repeat. And the Spotify and all that, it's great with like curating that music that you used to listen to. And it comes on. And I remember listening to that music and like memorizing the words and singing it while I'm on the interstate.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know, feeling like I'm cool. And then it plays and I'm just like, what is this guy talking about? I'm like, what? I'm like, what?
You actually
Like, I
start to
don't-
listen to the lyrics.
Yeah, like I mean, I did. I'm very lyrical.
For sure.
I love instrumental, but when it comes to like lyrics, like I literally unpack them. I love the sound, but I'm lyrical too. So it's
and that was
kind
me.
of a gift and a curse.
You know, I love the band Korn. And obviously I followed Brian Welsh's journey with Christ and all that.
Is he still doing?
Yeah, he's
Is he
so
still,
far.
still
I
preaching.
I don't get into
Sound doctrine?
I mean, he stays out of a lot of the spotlight, which I think is good for me because some great pastors that we follow get into the spotlight and they say things that it's like, and
Well, yeah.
so far, he is steered away from a lot of things he was on his way to, but
Is he former member of the band?
Yeah, of course.
he was, and now he's back with him. But
Is he?
He's been back with him for like
Wonder if
close to
he's
10 years
if those
now.
other guys are getting their lives together.
The bass player, Fieldy, did. He accepted Christ, and then he got Jesus tattooed on the side of his face. But
Wow.
he did, and then now he's stepped away from Korn to
Yeah.
get his.
Life together.
But either way, there's Korn songs that in my teenage years, in my early 20s, I would blast because, and now I like a song Adidas and stuff like that. I'm like, it hits a little different, so I don't. I'll probably skip it. And it's the same with bands. Like I like Slipknot and stuff like that. There's songs now that I'm like,
I know.
maybe we could, not taken away from the talent that these groups have,
No,
and
for sure.
and some of their music, whether it be preached from the pulpit or accepted in the Christian community or not, helped me in really dark times in my life, where it gave me that little bit of glimmer of hope or that little spark that I needed to get out of the gutter and go, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do
Yeah, because
whatever it is.
you get that moment of like you relate to that. You're
And-
like, oh,
and-
maybe I'm not alone.
and
Someone
God-
else feels the same way as me. You know what I mean?
God obviously knew that because he knew everything that we had in our life before it even happened. So that stuff was put in my path for a reason.
Yeah.
And now that I've been born again and I'm on this path, obviously I have discernment in a lot of the music that I listen to. I try not to get too disappointed in a lot of the artists that I followed. And I'm like, And Christian music, you can get even more hypocritical because you listen to people that are more sound than you are, and they're like, I read an article that Amy Grant supported everything LGBTQ.
Who's Amy Grant?
Well, we'll talk about that after the podcast. She's like one of the most famous gospel singers. But even Lecrae has had to come on and repent because he was making T-shirts with sayings that Cardi B would say, but he was trying to turn him Christian, and that's just not possible.
I mean, it seems so common nowadays. Like, I don't know what it is, but
It's this thing we call
Everywhere,
social
dude.
media. It's called, we're under the spotlight of everything. We're a long time ago, you had to work really hard to get in the spotlight and do things. And I'm not discrediting people that are in the spotlight in social media now. They've obviously been doing it for a lot of years and working really hard. But once they get that taste of that light, they have to, whether they were standing firm in their beliefs, whatever that was in the beginning, now they have to cater to the masses. I mean, we're seeing that right now with church leaders that we looked up to, catering to the masses so that they can make sure that they stay on top.
yeah, I really want to unpack what
Yeah, and
he
we'll
said,
get there.
dude. Like,
We'll get there, but
how do we build bridges to the hearts of people that are lost?
yeah.
I mean,
So-
obviously, you don't want to go out there and blatantly endorse what their sin, right? I mean,
Right,
we're all sinners, dude.
right.
We're all messed up, and we all make mistakes, and we all say things that we're like, "Oh crap, shouldn't have said that."
So, Antone, what did you have to say about that music? I know you had.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have experienced that too. You know, I look at the music I listen to like senior year with my buddies,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like for instance, and not necessarily a good thing, but listening to like Suicide Boys, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was a big thing for me and my buddy's senior year.
What?
Yeah, and it was music we loved, and then now that I listen to it, I'm not even kidding. I'm driving to take my private written exam, and one of the songs came on, and I go, "Yep, I probably should not be listening to that."
It's crazy, dude. Because that's one of the songs I was thinking of when I'm talking.
Yeah.
Because it's like we're one of the bands, obviously in the name.
Yep.
Suicide Boys. A little fun fact about those guys. I think one of the cousins is getting so clean and sober.
Really?
Yeah, the skinnier one, Ruby Rose, or the other guy. I don't know about him, but
Mm-hmm.
even in those situations, like sometimes you see it like Korn and that, but the music that they put out, it's like, bro,
Right.
it doesn't hit the same when you're trying to lead a life that's reflected of Christ.
Right. Yep.
'Cause
And
I don't think Jesus would be listening to Suicide Boys.
No.
no.
And then here's another thing is there were bands that I couldn't
Sorry, guys.
stand.
Sorry, Suicide Boys.
I couldn't stand a lot of groups when I was growing up. I wasn't real big in the grunge scene. I know that was a real 90s thing.
Even though
like
you
when I was-
dressed like it.
No, that I dressed metal, not grunge. I didn't have
Sure. Yeah.
flannel shirts and blue jeans on.
What? That's lumberjack.
You were born 10 years later, and you don't understand what the grunge
Sorry,
scene
okay.
really was.
Sorry, Grandpa. I didn't. Abuelito does.
I don't know either.
Continue.
But
Thanks,
when
man.
I was down and out, I don't know if you guys ever. I mean, obviously, you guys have heard of Alice in Chains,
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
and I've been listening to Nutshell.
Is that a new song?
No, he died, so it's not a new song.
Nutshell?
Nutshell.
I thought it was a song title.
It is from Alice in Chains,
Oh.
but he wrote that before he overdosed.
Oh, wow.
And
That's
died.
heavy.
To that song.
And I would love to send that song to you guys on your way home, but it's in an essence when now that I listen to songs for what they are instead of just the beat and like, this is heavy.
You've become lyrical.
yeah, a lyricist in a way where I'm like, but if you guys listen to Alice in Chains, like Rooster, and a lot of these songs, like, it's like, what is he even saying? This is one of those songs where it's like, where's some little dad? And it's like,
Now
what
you're
are you
singing
saying?
Creed, bro.
I know it. Listen to it. I wish we could play it here, but we'll cut it off of our podcast. But
Even if we like sped it up,
yeah, I'll play it after the podcast.
or like in the podcast, if you like contort it a
Yeah.
little bit, you can get away with it.
If we ask Brandon to do that,
Yeah, it'll probably take 6 years.
I don't even know if we would even get a copyright claim. It's probably all AI catching
no, we
it
will
now.
because I've said the name too many times of the song. So see,
Yeah,
this
you
is
just keep
Nutshell, and then they're like, we know what you're doing.
Oh, they're tuning in. Like, oh, he said it 3
I'll
times
play
now.
it for you guys after the podcast, but it is. When I was growing up, I'm like, this guy is just whining. But then, when you go through things in life, which I know a lot of us listen to music, Suicide Boys and things like that, where it's obviously taking you guys from a place in life, and you can probably pinpoint when you first listened to that what you were going through.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Why? Like he said, him and his friends, that's what we did. That's how we jammed. I'm not sure I'm familiar with. Is that like NSYNC or what?
No, it's like it's almost mumble rap esque,
Yeah.
And I probably
but it's
have
like
heard of
hit,
it.
it slaps, bro.
Yeah. Dude, whatever.
You gotta
dude.
hit the slap.
And so it is
Slaps.
this song.
Can you guys
but
all hear that now?
Yeah.
we can all
when-
hear each
yeah.
other. How do we do this?
Magic. You guys just can't hear me.
But that music,
Yeah, that's right.
even
But
as
that never mattered.
depressing as it was, it helped me through something, and I knew it wasn't Christian. It wasn't.
Yeah, it gets you through in a time, or that's the thing. Like we always, I think we can all maybe say we've been prodigals to some degree. Because I think every boy, every man,
Right.
at some point in their life, tries to go off and see what the world's all about. Like, and it's not. I mean, it's not that way. Like, I don't know. I always thought that I knew best. Still do. It's one of my issues in life where and I have to catch myself because I'm like, that's not coming from a place of humility. That's coming from a place of pride,
Right.
thinking that I know what I'm talking about and that the other person is wrong.
Right.
Like I do that all the time, dude. And then you catch yourself, and you're like, oh, stop, dude. What are you doing? And then I see it in my own son, and I'm like, bro.
Yeah. And I'm the same way.
It's hard, dude. I mean,
And you want to be such yourself. You want to be yourself so bad
and be real, bro.
and be real. And just to go back to that song, there's a line in that song in Nutshell that said, if I can't be to myself, then I just rather be dead.
Be to himself, and
Yeah, well,
or like just be himself.
yeah, but he didn't say if I can't just be myself, I'd rather be dead. It was if I get just be like the world, leave me alone.
Be
Let me
by
just
myself
be who I am, and I can't do that,
Well, look at that. That's
Then just-
spotlight, dude. He was in the spotlight.
dude. And he was struggling like
Yeah, he
one,
overdosed.
and then I watched. Well, not only that, he locked himself into a hotel room for weeks. Didn't tell anybody where he was at. Nobody. They had to do somebody did a welfare check and found
Wellness
him, and then they called his mom.
Jeez.
Like, yep, here he is. But he had the world. He had everything. Alice in Chains. I mean, everybody.
Everybody knows who that is.
And then he did Unplugged on MTV, where they were kind of Jerry Cantrell as his guitar player, and they're
Acoustic.
and then he did this, and then just like it's just weird. So that got me, but through listening to that and my wife going, "Do you need therapy?" because it
Are
was
you
like
okay?
on repeat. Like this song was on repeat,
Yeah.
and it once I share it with you guys, you're gonna be like, "Do we need to talk to Pastor Rick? Like, are you all right?"
No, I got
But
plenty
it-
of those songs.
It's,
bro.
I know you do, and that's why I know you'll relate to this song. Like, I already know the emoji that you're gonna send me or the gift. It's like, it's gonna be so depressing. But
See, that's my issue.
but I listen to it when I have a Bluetooth speaker in my shower. I would listen to it.
Are you 14?
I I can't listen to
I
all
do too.
dude. Then whatever.
Anto, I think they're younger than
So
us.
I
think
would
so.
listen to
Yeah.
You just
that.
listen to music in the shower?
Oh,
And then
yeah.
that's what sparked this
Not
whole
really.
thing on
Weirdo.
music and how that influences you and how it can influence you when you're not Christian versus when you're Christian. And there's so many views of you can't listen to this no more. If it's altering your mindset, if it's doing this, I agree with that. If you're listening to, if I'm a 555 or if you're a 555, I'm a 666, and you're like, that's what I'm, then okay, then you need to stop listening to that. Or if you're listening to corn songs like Clown or something, and you're beating somebody's head in with a hammer at school, like, then
what
obviously,
the f-
like, these are old school 90s corn songs.
That's what people would do when they listen to
But I'm
corn.
saying, no, what I'm trying to say is if that music is influencing you in such a way that that's how you're going to live your life, then
It's a problem.
It's a problem. But if you can discern that this is fantasy and this is reality, then I don't see a big problem with Christians listening to music that might not be played on Christian radio.
I mean,
Does
The
that mean I
only-
have to stop listening to Slipknot and Mudvayne and
it's your
Corn.
discernment will tell you that.
Exactly,
You know?
that's what I
this-
mean.
In the same sense, we cannot trust our own hearts. We're gonna
exactly?
we're gonna let it lead ourselves, and we make exceptions, dude.
So-
If you make one exception here,
right.
you got to make another big one over here.
So
it may
does
be
that
down the
mean-
road, but
When you're listening to metal music, do you just go home and punch holes in your wall?
Right. No, I agree. I think I like what you said. You have to listen to your discernment because,
Yeah.
I mean, some people, I know there are definitely songs that I'm sure I probably shouldn't be listening to, but I don't think it's right for someone to say, you can't listen to this band because I say so.
Right.
Well, who are you?
yeah,
You know, who are you to tell me what I can and can't listen
yeah,
to?
pull the plank out of your eye, buddy.
Right, exactly. And so I think, once again, listening to discernment, where it says, okay, the Holy Spirit's telling you, you probably really shouldn't be listening to that. Like, I can tell you right now, I listen to people like, I'm a big fan of Ko Wetzel. Love Ko Wetzel. Now, his music is about alcohol and drug abuse and things like that, so it's probably not great. But for me, my discernment doesn't necessarily say that's wrong, because I know that's wrong.
And you're
But-
gonna go out and start doing that.
Right. It's not-
Antone played it at his graduation party. And you're just cussing. He's like, whatever, we're in church.
What?
Remember at your graduation party?
I don't, but that sounds about right.
And you were, I was like, dude, they're dropping the F bomb and stuff. I was like, hey, buddy. And you're like, oh, I didn't even think about that. And it's not like Eminem F bombs, but it was definitely like Ko Wetzel that, you know, with some Taco Bell.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
February
I was like,
28th, 2016.
Yeah, I was like, we're playing this in the church? And then you're like, yeah, let's go switch the playlist real quick. Yeah.
So, to be fair, okay, my sister is the one who set up the music. I'm just saying.
No, it's all good. I appreciated the music you were listening to. I was just like, oh, we're in the church. And it doesn't cuss that much. It's like
It's
raw,
rough,
southern Texas red dirt music.
Yeah.
It's like that southern rock kind of music.
Yeah. I mean, that's one thing, like, for my son,
Mhm.
I tried for the longest time to hold out and not expose him to music like that, you know, and I had helped him. He made his own playlist, you know, if he liked a song and it didn't have any cursing, I'd add it to a playlist for him, you know what I mean? Like, and we play it.
What
But now,
music
like,
is your son listening to that you have to?
No, it's
Like,
all
he's
my
not just
music.
listening to like hot dog, hot diggity dog.
No, dude.
He likes some good music.
Dude, he's
got
very,
good taste.
he's instrumental like me, and for me, I feel like that's like a fundamental in music. If you can appreciate just the sound, and you don't need all the words, then you're unlocking so many things with music. But you know, I try to avoid that. You know, and it's almost impossible, dude,
It is.
because everything has it, and if you don't have discernment and you don't have, you know, some type of morality that's instilled in you, you're not going to care.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you know, most parents, and not calling anybody out, but most of them don't care. They just play what's ever on the radio, and the radio's pretty bad.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't know if anybody listens to the radio anymore.
Last night we let that liquor talk.
You know, and that's what's playing with your kid in the car. Like,
Right.
kid's like, wonder what liquor is talking at night. You know what I mean? Like, we don't even think. Like, they didn't say a curse word, but he's talking about a situation that, like, it numbs us. I think that is the problem with spending too much of your time on music to not worship, or, you know, not like figure out what you're listening to, is that you become numb to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just be like, oh yeah, that's fine, that's normal.
It's like how you see all kinds of outlandish stuff on TV and commercials too. It's like the same
You
thing.
become numb to
you
it,
become
dude.
numb to it because it's just all over
You
the place.
see half-naked people on the TV, and you're like, oh yeah, that's fine. Back in the day, like, what?
No, I completely agree, and it's everywhere. It's one. That's the scary thing, I think, or the scariest thing about, especially being a young man with social media, is that
Social
you don't
media,
have to look for inappropriate content. It will find
It'll
you.
find you.
It will find you, and that's the
Especially if
hardest
you're a
part.
young man.
Yep.
It's gonna find. And for girls, I mean, I can only say that because I am a man. I was young once, but you know, you know, it's so true, dude. Like,
Yeah.
you can't avoid it, and that's why you have to learn, like, how to recognize it and steer away.
Right.
You know, because there's a limit to it. The more that you spend listening to sad boy music, the more of a sad boy you're gonna be.
Yeah, it's gonna rub off on you.
Oh, absolutely. I completely agree.
And I've listened to sad boy music my entire life, dude. I'm like,
We listened to sad boy music probably yesterday.
oh yeah.
That's why you're a couple sad boys.
Yeah,
So I'm
that's
saying,
why.
dude. And it's just like we become numb, just like TV.
Because you want to feel something. Every time I put a playlist on, whether it be Bluetooth and I'm going to take a shower, or the headphones I put in on to go to chores, I want that playlist to make me feel what I'm feeling
feel
inside.
something. Yeah.
So sometimes I skip 13 songs in the morning, and it's all positive songs. So I'm like, get this trash out of here.
I'm gonna be
until
grumpy today.
until I finally hear, you know, whatever it is, Alice in Chains, and I'm like, yep. Now I want to put the exhaust pipe in my window. You know, it's but you want that release, and then other times you want that upbeat. You want to drive to where you're going, and you just want to hear that nonstop.
4 on the floor, driving beat.
You just want that. Yeah, here we go. And then there's times where you just want to hear nothing but gospel music. You want to hear
know
nothing
what's-
but Jeremy Camp.
You know what's
and
crazy
Newsboys.
about that for me, you know, gospel music or Christian music, when it comes on, it's supposed to be on.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, you could be in like a bad headspace, and then all of a sudden that song comes on, and you're like, oh,
Right.
yeah, what am I doing? Why am I thinking? Why am I stuck in my head when
How
I should
many-
be talking to Christ right now?
How many times though
Trust in
have you
him.
put on your playlist and gospel music comes on and you turn it off immediately because you're like,
Oh yeah, I've done
Yeah.
that a few. I've done
because you're like, I don't deserve to listen.
or I don't want to.
I don't want
I'm
to,
mad
or I
right
don't-
now.
yeah.
and I don't want to hear that.
And I've even tried to listen to like
We're so fickle, man. Our hearts,
gospel metal
our hearts,
music, and I'm
dude.
like,
But that also shows how impactful music is to us, right? It makes
Mm-hmm.
us feel that whatever emotion. And so that's why you play, like you said, gosh, I just want to punch a wall. So you go listen to Alice in Chains, right? Or, oh, I'm just feeling really down. So you listen to your sad music or whatever.
boy.
Yeah. And so all those different things, that just shows how impactful music is. And that's why I think it's so important to use discernment, like what we were just talking about.
And then what's rough too is I don't know how much scripture backs it up or whatever, but they say Satan was the worship leader when he was kicked out of heaven.
He
And
plays
so
the
it-
long game too, bro.
So
Like,
the whole thing was music, and he knows how to reach you. He knows how to touch you. And I knew he was going to do that. I knew it.
why you gotta make it weird, Adam?
Wait, is that
you say
because-
things? Sometimes you say things, and I'm just like,
You make it weird.
No,
because
dude.
a lot of people say music touches you.
that wasn't as weird. The way you-
Exactly.
the way you said it,
I
that's
said
how-
Satan was a worship leader, and he knows how to use music, and sometimes he knows how to touch you. And now you do that. You make it weird, and now you made it way weird.
But you
And
said,
Sylvia, I hope you're listening, and I want you to, wherever Kevin is at this time, say, Kevin, stop and listen.
she's gonna tell you like,
No, she
bro.
knows. No, because she doesn't have her mind stuffed in a gutter.
But that's another thing that's hard these days.
Jeez.
Did you just barf?
No, he spit his coffee back in there because he's a weirdo.
there's floaties in it, dude. And it's not
Let's let Brandon give his
It's
2
not
cents on this
ground.
music thing real quick.
Well, I don't know. It is interesting because
and time's up.
And we're going on to movies. No, go
That's
ahead,
our
Brandon.
commercial break. No.
I never like I hit a certain age where all of a sudden like this music that really I loved and it spoke to me as a kid.
Uh-huh.
It just didn't interest me anymore. But now that we talk about it this way, I think it was discernment because it was like what they're talking about. It's like I don't agree with that. I don't need that in my
Well, it's-
life.
It's like Dad too. Remember when he said that? I think whatever get together we were in, he's like, "Do you guys ever like go back to the music we listened to?" And we're like, "What is this talking?"
Yeah.
about?"
Because I think when you're younger, you're also not fully understanding or you're not fully listening to what it's saying.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh, this song slaps.
yeah.
That's who.
But then you get to a certain age, and then it's going to slap you in real life like that, I think. And you're going to wake up
Right.
and you're going to be like, oh, I don't want to be listening to this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't point to a specific time or even that it was this thing where I'm like, oh, maybe, religiously, or not religiously, but spiritually, I shouldn't be putting this into my soul, right? But it just was kind of like it just happened, maybe as I matured or something. But yeah, it's very strange because now I don't listen to nearly as much.
No,
Like
I
I
agree
like
with you.
singer songwriter stuff, and but like I used to be really big into hip hop, like not even metal and stuff like you liked. I was never really that big into it, but hip hop even they're talking about some dark
Yeah.
stuff and misogynist and all this. It's so yeah, I don't know.
Yep.
But it is hard too. What you're talking about being in the gutter. It's like, can you blame us? Because
Right.
we're surrounded by it all the time.
Constantly.
Even like you said, it's going to seek you out. It'll
Right.
find you. Even if you don't follow all these pages, all of a sudden you're going to get this ad, and it's just going to. It's like, oh, I was steering. We're going to be swerving all day long if we're trying to steer clear of it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Even there are even people that I know I look up to, and they're great Christians. But then some of the whether it's modeling or whatever, it's kind of provocative, pictures that they're posting.
Right.
And it's because you say one thing and then you do another, right? Like one gets likes and one has a good message, and so then you got people who are trying to do both, and it's really contradicting. But like you said, even the people we're looking up to, it's there.
Yeah, you're getting some muddy waters there.
Yep.
When they're like towing that fine line of.
Yep.
It's like, oh, this is no longer appropriate,
Right.
Or it's just like you said, contradicting. They could
Yep.
be putting a caption and then you see something else. You're like, whoa,
Yeah.
I don't know if those two things really go together.
Yep.
So, Kevin, Now that you're done dissecting a partnership that was sent to me, but whatever, it's crap and stupid. So.
No, this is actually pretty good. No sugar. No.
Why don't you
no
ever take it for
maltodextrin?
face? Why don't you take it for face value when I talk to you about it? You're like, you just assume that I'm going to get us into a stupid situation.
No calories,
What are
dude.
you guys talking about?
How is it even? Have you guys ever?
We'll talk about
have you
that
guys-
after the
have you guys ever-
podcast.
do you ever get tired?
Sometimes.
We got to do it
All the time.
Yeah.
Oh,
Are we sponsored?
almost.
Really?
By Dubby.
Debbie.
shout out.
Dubby. Energy supplement.
Oh wow. Okay. I'm excited to
We
learn more.
have a. We'll talk about the. They gave us our own QR code, I guess, that they can put on and get 10% off their W order.
Interesting.
We'll do
We'll-
that
we'll
after
plug 'em.
this. But now that we've talked about music, let's go into movies. A little different. Do you stop watching Liam Neeson? Do you stop watching Denzel? Equalizer? Do you stop
Do
watching
shows count?
anything we consume on the TV with our eyes?
So
Game of
Alan
Thrones.
Richardson.
What?
Reacher. Anybody ever see Reacher?
Oh, the
Yeah,
Thad.
that kind of stuff. So
Dude, he's a Christian, and he has a channel on YouTube, and
all right.
he's on point.
Denzel's a Christian too, but he also makes movies like The Equalizer, where he shoves a gun barrel through the back of somebody's head.
Yeah. Well,
Man,
Anyway,
you say the most visceral things, Adam. Some of these
Well,
things you
that's
say, it's
what's real. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about consuming what we look at, what we listen to.
true.
As Christians, as are we only supposed to go to PureFlix and watch those cheesy movies?
Whoa, dude.
Have you seen them? Do you? You don't even have PureFlix.
I do.
Okay,
I don't
do you
watch TV. I don't have time for that.
Have you seen them, Antone? The cheesy Christian movies that are low budget.
I think they're good.
I've
I like
seen them,
better.
but I haven't seen them on. I haven't seen PureFlix. I've never even heard of that.
PureFlix is like Netflix for Christians.
Oh,
Not a sponsor.
No. But so the guy who created the God's Not Dead series is who heads up PureFlix.
okay.
He's also in like all their shows. But it's like the Hallmark channel for Christians. So the same quality that you would get on the Hallmark channel, you get there.
Okay.
So they're not
There's some diehard Hallmark
they're
fans
not
out there. Bro.
Passion of Christ production material.
Mm-hmm.
Very cheesy, very corny. Here we go. Well, we just got demonetized just for that. So flag that when you go on.
yeah.
Name that person who was just talking.
But if you're a born again Christian,
Name that person
Antone,
who was just talking, Adam.
I don't know. I didn't listen.
Johnny.
I think you can play stuff for like 15 seconds before you get monetized. We're good.
Do you stop watching Terminator 2? Do you stop watching The Equalizer? Do you stop watching the?
Did you just say the
what's-
Terminator 2?
Yeah,
Bro, that's like
Liam Neeson movies.
I think it goes back to like what we were talking about how it affects you.
Yeah.
I think it's. I mean, it's like with anything, right? I mean, if that's all you're consuming and it starts having a negative effect on you, no, I think you try to space yourself away from that because if you're watching, so like for instance, I've been watching Deadpool. I love Deadpool movies with all of my heart. They are so funny,
Yeah.
right? I love the action. I think they're great.
Ryan Reynolds.
Yep.
Okay.
And so, but then if I'm watching that and I go, you know what? Yeah, I could do that too.
Oh,
I think, cutting people's heads off, like that's obviously not good if I start having those thoughts. So I think if it starts affecting you in a negative way, it's kind of like with alcohol, right? That's something people say, well, in the Bible says not to have alcohol. No, it says not to partake in drunkenness. There's a big difference, right? And I think it's the same way like with movies. If you're obsessing over it and it's constantly and it starts having a negative effect on you, that's when it's a problem.
Right.
But then again, it goes. Then I watch, like the Deadpool movies, right? And there's some very vulgar scenes in there. it's just that's the hard part too, because then it doesn't matter what movies you're watching. There's always seems to be a vulgar scene
Yeah.
in it, right? Like I was watching the TV series The Pacific. And so that's about the Pacific campaign in World War II following the 1st Marines Division.
Such a good show.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
But then, of course,
Did you see it, Adam?
No.
Okay.
but then, of course, you know, there's, you know, the love-making scenes and whatnot. And it's like, why do you have to... Yes?
He's a child, dude.
What would you rather me say?
No, you said it perfectly.
No.
Kevin can't handle
You
love making scene when you said that. So keep going.
But, I mean, things like that, I think. It's just... It sucks because it seems like no matter where we go, it's thrown into it.
Yeah.
No matter the... Like, once again, it's about, you know, World War II. It's a historically accurate, or mostly historically accurate show.
Yeah.
And so...
Well, anything's Hollywooded up, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of funny because like my main genre of movie is comedy. Like,
Dude, don't ever take a recommendation from this guy.
That's not
He
true.
recommends the worst movies you'll ever watch.
that's not true.
He said comedy.
He just likes action more and stuff like that. Like, yeah, comedy.
Well, I think it's also what are your triggers?
Right.
If you're struggling with alcoholism, probably don't watch movies that's all they're doing.
drinking, yeah.
If you're struggling with pornography, probably don't watch movies that's all they're doing.
Same with music. If that's all they're singing.
Exactly.
About,
If that's all they're singing is about sex and alcohol and drugs, maybe you need to steer away from that until you're able to be strong enough to be able to listen to those triggers and it not influence you. Country music, I mean, that's a big one, especially like the Co Wetzels and stuff like that. You know, luckily for you, Antone, you never had a drug addiction, or I mean that we know of, anyways. Or you're not a drunkard. But if you were that kind of music, if you were trying to get sober and then you put on the Co Wetzel album, you might say, you know what, screw this, I'm going to the back roads and cracking some 6-packs and go and hang out with the buds.
Right.
Or smoke weed or whatever they do, you know. That could be a trigger for that. So sometimes, you know, there's people that make fun of me for this, but there's times where I don't listen to nothing. The radio's not on and I drive home from Denver to Simla with no music.
That's crazy. That's absolutely nuts.
It's serial killer.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I get it though because you're
But I'm
doing
alone
what
in
he
my
does.
thoughts.
Well,
Like,
yeah,
I can,
he gets it because he takes showers without music.
But also, you do the same thing. You just have instrumental music, so he just can't have anything distracting him. Whereas you can have the instrumental on, and then you're doing that. You're having that time with your thoughts, and it becomes something where you can speak to God. It sounds like that's exactly what it is for him. He just can't even be distracted
Yeah,
by
Joe.
instrumental music.
And here's the thing, every movie I've ever watched with serial killers is them listening to instrumental music while they're cutting somebody apart.
You're talking about Dexter, dude? You're
No, I never
talking about
seen Dexter.
American Psycho?
All of them. There's two you just labeled
there's a lot.
right now.
There's a lot of
It's all instrumental music that they're like. Never one have I watched where it's
Dude,
just
I'm
in
not.
silence.
Did I say classical music? No.
Dude, all right. Now
I
we're
can't
gonna-
listen. I don't listen.
Let's split hairs.
I
here.
listen to classical, but not. I listen to more contemporary,
You're just
post-industrial rock.
okay.
That's
here
what
we
I
go.
like.
All right.
I don't even know what that is.
Search it, dude. Blow your mind.
It's
You
instrumental
sit
rock.
there, dude, and it's like you have a soundtrack to your life.
So, before we get into the next subject, I will say that this company called Dubby Energy Be Better.
Are you even saying it right?
It's not Doobie. Because I looked it up. It's Dubby. D-U-B-B-Y. Would you say Dubby?
Would I say Dubby?
Yeah.
Yeah.
D-U-B-B-Y.
Dubby.
Dubby Energy. And if it's not right, then they ain't going to pay us. So they reached out to a lot of content creators, which there's a lot. This is a
Make sure you cut that part out the last part you just said.
that they're
about getting paid.
Yeah.
Well, we're not getting paid now. However, they let me set up my own profile. They didn't ask for any personal information, debit cards, bank information, nothing like that.
So this is real.
Yes.
Did you
I-
get your
but
social?
no.
They already
When
got
I
that on
was
the
there,
last one.
My wife was there, and I'm like, Kevin's gonna ask all these questions, and it's just gonna. So there's no personal information out there other than the name or Gmail.
Are they foreign owned?
No, they're American owned. They're from like Austin, Texas, or something like
Did you
that.
about to say Austria?
So you're really trying to get them to be like, we're good. However, they come up with this company, W Energy, and they're
I didn't realize that.
You thought a dog was coming through the
Oh.
second story window to bite him.
they have they work with gamers, a lot of gamers. So
Oh, yeah.
on Twitch and stuff like that, whatever you gamers do online, they work with a lot of gamers, but they want to work with content creators. They said send what your podcast or content is about, and then we'll get back to you if we want to work with you. So I sent all of our social security numbers. No, I sent what Street Smart Christian was and what the platform was, and this is what we do. And this is our at Street Smart Christian. They can go and look at our social media, look at our following, look at our YouTube, and this and that. And a day later, they came back and said, "Okay, we would like to collaborate with you guys. Let's set you up with a QR code, whatever you want to make up, whatever you want it to be."
I thought you were saving this for the end.
Dude,
This is the end. I'm just
don't interrupt him.
And then I set up Street Smart Christian 1. So if anybody uses Street Smart Christian 1 at checkout with W Energy drink, they get 10% off their purchase. And if people use that QR code, they will pay us a percentage of the sales.
Whoa, that's
But
cool.
no, apparently we have to save this to the end. And everything is ruined because Kevin hates everything that I do.
You know what?
Said.
We need to do it more in the beginning because some people don't make it to the end.
No, I'm going to come up with a bunch of shorts, and I know that when Kevin gives Antone his headphones, we can incorporate this. This is why I let you look through it, and you look through it, and it looks like not a bad supplement, energy supplement. It's kind of like bucked up or whatever,
It's all natural.
all natural. So
That's
yeah.
awesome.
So
That's great
if
news.
everybody could come up with a little promo thing that we can incorporate, and everybody that's listening right now, go check them out at w.com, W Energy. They're a small company coming up, and use the promo code Street Squad 1.
Here, give me that.
What are you gonna do with it?
Give me that.
Dang it.
Do you get tired?
Adam, which is it? I thought you said Street Smart 1.
I did, but it's Street Squad.
Okay. Shoot. Street Squad 1. Okay.
Street Squad, because that's what we are, Street Squad. So, with that being said, let's get into a little bit more of a controversial subject that's in the news. Everybody knows who Alistair Begg is. Does everybody in the room, besides Brandon, probably know?
I know who he
Alistair-
is.
All right, good. Well, Brandon, I didn't know.
All right, good.
Everybody in the room knows who Alistair Begg is, and I sent videos to Kevin and Antone on
watch 'em?
the latest controversy
Yeah, I did.
of what's going on with Alistair Begg.
Why don't
Alistair,
you let me prepare? Why don't you
I
send me these
didn't know
things?
that you knew.
We
I
didn't even know you were coming tonight, dude. So chill out.
Well, I know you're new, not new in the faith, but
Well, yeah, but I could
I didn't
still
know
be.
that you were like, I know Alistair Begg, and I read all of his books.
I could be aware of where we're going with the podcast.
Play the clip.
I don't have a clip. You didn't send it to me.
Sometimes it's better.
No, I think we do need to have him.
I will.
So
It's-
pause it,
No.
timestamp, watch it.
He will. I'll send it to you. I'll send you both. the
No,
clips.
because I want him to be able to give his point of view too.
Well, he can when we talk about the controversial thing,
Yeah.
and then once we get those clips out, we can address a little bit more, because this is going to be an ongoing thing. Like, it's not just going to be a one and done deal with him. We're going to see where this progresses, where it goes. But I think that we can go off of the videos that I did see, and go, what's basically what happened, Brandon, was
gonna-
Alistair Begg
can I play
had
it?
a grandma. No, we can't play it right now.
You can
Because
mute.
we need to be able to edit it, and doing that's too
We'll
hard when you're
keep-
playing it through this. He has to be able to put it on the computer and then split it. Like, we can cut our conversation at any point right now. Like, if we go like this,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
We
So
can
let
cut
him,
it and
let
do
me
it.
just let him hear what Alistair said.
How
it's
long-
13 minutes long.
No, just what Alistair said in the beginning of that first video you sent. You know
It's
what I'm
fine.
saying? It's in the
Just
first.
don't quit recording, and it'll be okay. Then I'll be able to cut it.
Yeah, you just need to hear what he says, because then you can have an actual opinion. Because
I know. I'm telling you.
if Anton listened to it, sorry, and I did, and you did, and he didn't, why is he here?
We didn't know he was coming.
Rotated in another direction, and learning to say, but I have no basis upon which I could argue that I myself would not be where they are, were it not for the amazing grace of God, were it not for his compassion towards me. And in very specific areas this comes across. I mean, you and I know that we field questions all the time that go along the lines of, my grandson is about to be married to a transgender person, and I don't know what to do about this, and I'm calling to ask you to tell me what to do, which is a huge responsibility. And in a conversation like that just a few days ago, people may not like this answer, but I asked the grandmother, does your grandson understand your belief in Jesus? Yes. Does your grandson understand that your belief in Jesus makes it such that you can't countenance in any affirming way the choices that he has made in life? Yes. I said, well, then, okay, as long as he knows that, then I suggest that you do go to the ceremony, and I suggest that you buy them a gift. Oh, she said, what? She was caught off guard. I said, well, here's the thing. You're not going to, your love for them may catch them off guard, but your absence will simply reinforce the fact that they said these people are what I always thought, judgmental, critical, unprepared to countenance anything. And it is a fine line, isn't it? It really is. And people need to work out their own salvation with fear and trembling. But I think we're going to take that risk. We're going to have to take that risk a lot more if we want to build bridges into the hearts and lives of those who don't understand Jesus and don't understand that he is a king.
Okay. So basically, what I get out of that, Brandon, and then I'll get your opinion on what you just listened to. And please, by no means, and anybody listening to this, don't take any four of ours.
We are no way,
Opinion.
shape, or form have more skin in the game.
But
than
I think
Alistair
me and
has.
Kevin
I mean,
are-
He's been
Yeah.
a minister for.
I think Kevin and I are probably on the
Years.
same page of this, is in the same sentences that he was just saying when the old woman called him, and he said, does your grandson know where you stand? Yes. Then your grandson knows that you cannot, in any way support what you're doing. Any way be affiliated with what you're doing. Yes. Well, then you should buy him a gift and show up to the ceremony. He contradicted
Yeah.
everything that he said right there. Now, I get what he's saying when it comes to
Building bridges.
building bridges and the gift of grace. Giving the grace to them by showing, and I know what he's saying about people's opinion of Christians are sometimes very negative because, they're just judgmental. They hate gays. They hate transgenders. They hate the whole thing. They're just evil people. So he's like, so instead of showing him that, show him love by just showing up. But in the same statement that he made, he contradicted. Like your grandson knows that you are a Christian, and where you stand with Christ, you cannot be behind this.
Right.
You cannot accept this lifestyle. And while he understands that, then show up and support their union and marriage and buy them a gift.
Yeah, it is exactly opposite of. What
And so
I
a
was
man
saying.
that's been so theologically sound, doctrinally correct in his ministry, that says the Bible does not contradict itself. To be a good steward of Christ, you cannot waver from the scriptures. To be a ambassador of Christ, as if somebody was an ambassador for the United States. They don't say, Brandon, you're an ambassador to the United States. We're going to send you to China. What am I going to say? Just whatever. You kind of know what the United States is about. So go say, we're free, but then make the rest up. No, as an ambassador of the United States, the U.S. government, the federal government, or whoever it is, gives you a script. And you go to China and you read that script. You're an ambassador of the United States, so you say what they tell you to say.
Right.
So when you're an ambassador of Christ, you are to say and walk out what the scriptures say,
Yeah, what he
just like
wants
he
you to
said.
say.
And you cannot twist or pervert or anything to the Bible that makes it fall into an agenda that you think is right. If
Right.
the scriptures say you can't do this, you can't do it. I don't care how mad it makes people, how it hurts their feelings. There's a lot of things in scriptures, and I'm not homosexual, I'm not any of that, but there are things in scripture that I read and I'm like, but come on. Can't I just step out and have a good time for a little bit? And it's a sure. Yeah. But if you're going to be an ambassador of Christ, you better get it together.
Right.
It might be 2024 years old, but it's never changed. It's never going to change. And you cannot and I'm going to keep praying for Alistair Begg. I still hold him in the best regards, and I'm hoping, because there is a second video that we'll get into later where he triples down on what he said,
Really.
and he's like, yeah, I'm not ready to repent, and I'm not an American evangelist, and it's like, dude, okay, come on, man. I really want to read your books, and I want to like them.
And you're like, what's happening?
But it's the same thing that happened with Ravi Zacharias.
Is it the same?
Well, I mean, if we're gonna call a sin,
Well, Brennan, what do you, just hearing that, because we're going to cut that part out,
Right.
but like,
Well, at first it was very confusing.
well, he'll
So tell-
edit it to where he can
yeah.
put the video in.
oh, we're gonna include the
Because
video.
it's on YouTube, it's free
Oh, it's public.
press.
then?
Yeah, we can do it, not be demonetized for it.
Okay. Well, at first it was a little confusing. He used that word, and I'm glad you said something because I'm like, what does that mean? But then it was also like, wait. He just said that, and then now he's going here. I was lost for a second. I was like I think it comes back to what you said when you first had your first podcast with us, where like if you start picking and choosing what's wrong and what's right, and you start doing all this, it just, what did you say? It devalues all of it, or what was the way you phrased it? But
progressive Christianity today discredits Paul as
Oh yeah, that was
an apostle, and like he wrote the highest percentage of the New Testament. So if you cut out what Paul says, you don't believe any of it, dude.
Yeah.
You don't believe the entire thing. If the Bible cuts you like a knife and you're convicted, that's God.
It's doing.
Well, you know
But
what?
if you want to pick and choose and try and make it fit your understandings, because we don't understand God,
no.
dude. Like
But that's
we don't even
intentional.
understand our own hearts. What?
And you know,
I said that's intentional too. I
Yeah.
truly believe it.
yeah,
for
dude.
sure.
You know what that reminds
We
me?
couldn't understand him. Look at Job, the story of Job, when God finally was like, "All right, you need to calm down, bud. You couldn't
It's-
understand the
it's so
smallest part
insane.
of what I am and what I've done." You know what I mean? And he's like, "Oh yeah, you're right."
Just adding on to that really quick. When I was younger, I used to have all these questions, right, about the Bible and about God and all this, and like, eventually, I was asking too hard of questions where like my parents were like, I don't know. I'd have to do some research, but eventually, they kind of gave me some comfort. They were like, you know, if the Lord was small enough to understand, He wouldn't be big enough to be our God. And so, as a kid, I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I can understand.
What kind of questions were you asking a child? No.
That's
I feel like I
that's really
actually
good.
remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that one always stuck with me.
You know, with the whole Alistair thing, we talk about you can't waver from the scriptures and things like that. It's almost like the world when you're growing up with a parent, and not everybody grew up with this kind of parent, but a parent that your entire life, let's just put it in this context, you grow up with a dad that says, you can't drink until you're 21. You cannot drink. You cannot drink. You cannot. Do not. And if I catch you, I'm going to beat you. And so you go on that path like, I can't. My dad's going to beat me. And then you reach a certain age and he's like, here you go. Okay, this is great. And then you get out of control with it. And then your dad's like, hey, I know I said you couldn't do that, but maybe dial it back a little bit, but you can keep doing it. And so I look at somebody like Alistair that he was on that right path for so long. And then he's, hey, well I
can you
know it
imagine-
was
let's
wrong, but now society is saying that it's
let's
right.
put ourselves in his shoes. You have a woman
So that's
calling
a-
you and asking you for your advice on what to do for your own family.
So I'm
bro.
glad you said that, because a mentor of mine that brought this information to me the next day had a conversation with his wife about the same thing. And the wife was basically like, well, hey, put yourself in this situation, and told this person, what if one of your grandkids came out gay? You have to support them. And he said, no, I won't. She said, well, yes, you will. That's your grandkid. And he said, yeah, I get out, but no, I won't.
And you know what
So it's that boldness, like what we've been talking about. Alistair was put in a situation where this old lady, I think she knew what he was going to say, but she wanted to hear it from him. She thought he was going to say, hey, no, just call
If
him
he
and
knows
say.
where you stand, then you're fine.
Then I think she thought he would say, you're not a bad person by loving him. You can still love this person. And you can call and say, because what he said, does he know where you stand with Christ? Yes. Does he know how you feel about the situation? Yes. So she knew that, but she wanted to hear it from him to say, then call him. I love you. We're going to agree to disagree on the situations you're at. I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to be there. I'm not going to send you a gift. He didn't even need to say that. But I love you. I just want you to know
Right.
I love you. And I'm going to continue to pray for you guys. And if you want to, because I think you don't have to buy them gifts and show up to their wedding and support this. But if you were to come by, we'll go get some coffee. And I'll say, I love you. And then you go your way and I'll go my way. It's the same thing. And I think she wanted to hear that from him because she's been a part of his congregation, heard his talks. And then he goes, says the things that she wants to hear. He knows where you stand with Christ. He knows this and that, which is the part that just twists my gut.
I want to know if she went.
Or was she, or did she turn around and be like, Alistair's cheese done slid off his cracker?
Right.
Like he didn't. But to say, you know where you stand with Christ, you know that you cannot affirm this, you know you can't do this. Yeah, I know all that. Well, great. Go to their
I think
wedding
Yeah,
and
what
buy
do you-
him a gift.
What do you think?
Go ahead.
I think that's
Yeah, Tom.
the big thing too, is that there's a big difference between supporting somebody and loving somebody, because it's just like the whole, Pastor Rick says it all the time.
Yeah.
Hate the sin, love the sinner, right? And just because you love somebody doesn't mean you have to support them.
Right. If you love somebody, sometimes you have to choose to not support them.
Yep.
Because we're destructive of ourselves, and
Yeah.
people addicted to drugs
Yep.
are a good example because they're not in their right mind. They just want to get their next fix, right? So they'll steal money from you, or they'll beg you for money, and you're like, well, I got to give money.
And what
I
is
love
that?
'em,
Love
but-
from afar? Is that
Yeah,
what it
but
is?
then there's a point where, I need just some gas money, but they're using it to buy drugs. You gotta say, I can't help you. I love you, but I cannot help you because I know where that money's gonna go, and they're gonna be like, well, you Christian, you're supposed to help me and all this and that. That's where we're afraid because we don't want to make a bad name. But what did Jesus say? They hated him first. So they're going to hate us too. And
Yep.
if we don't stand in that gap, and it's so hard because, I feel for that grandmother. I can't imagine. I would never want to be in that situation, but I would want to be able to go to my pastor and bring it to him and say, hey, like, I know what I should do, but I want to hear what you think I should do.
Right.
And to have faith that that pastor is going to guide you scripturally to your answer, whether that's what you wanted to hear or not.
Right.
So, as we come to wrap this podcast up, I'll go around the room and we'll just say, as far as Alistair Begg goes, I'm gonna I love him, and I'm gonna continue to pray that he will come to repentance. Not saying that we all know where he stands, and he's had a lot of talks on homosexuality, and I think like some of his are the most inspiring talks when it's talking about hate the sin,
Love the sinner.
love the sinner. Like he's had those like, hey, I cannot support your lifestyle, but I can love you. I'm no better than you are. We're all sinners, and I can love you,
Yeah, we all just got
but I
different,
can't support.
different colors
So,
of sin, bro.
so what I wanted to say is we'll go around here, and I'll just say that I'm gonna continue to pray for Alistair. I'll just keep it at that. I'll continue to pray for him and his ministry, and pray for those who are in a situation like that grandmother was, that God would lead them to great godly people and men that could support them in that difficult situation. So, what do you think, Brandon?
Man, you said it all, Adam. It's, we love him.
You're welcome. Oh, no, go ahead, Brandon. I'm sorry.
We love him, and we'll be praying, and, we'll just let the Lord direct his heart and wherever he wants to take that direction.
What do you got to say to the people, bro?
To the people. Which people?
Our people.
All right.
I thought had to keep going.
I think he's trying a new thing called closing remarks
Yeah.
in a court of law.
You want me to say if you're going to be about it?
No.
No. Are we going to talk about it? I don't know what you want.
Yeah, I know.
Your turn.
Okay.
Kevin's deferring
This
himself
is
from
the chance 37.
Yeah.
Chance For
It's
me,
getting close to 40, dude, and I'm not celebrating my 40th
Same with
birthday
his age.
with your 40th chance of getting your stuff together. So,
I feel like I'm at
Kevin.
what?
No, I think, yeah, it's a tough situation. I mean, we talked about a lot of tough stuff. But I think when it comes down to it is when you think that you know what the right path is and what the right decision is, that's the exact moment when you, as a follower of Christ, should see what God thinks. Because we are fickle, dude. Our hearts one day love this and the next day hate that. And, you know, Paul said it best. He does the things he hates, or he loves the things he hates, and he hates the thing he loves. Like, we're all cursed with that. We're born sinners. You know, no matter how hard we try, we are going to sin. It's something that, you know, we can't escape because of the world we live in is imperfect. And, you know, if we were sinless, we wouldn't need a savior. So, you know, I pray for Alistair. I pray for his congregation. I pray for that grandmother. I pray for her grandson going through that. Like, you know, I can't help but, you know, as a Christian, you put yourself in their shoes. You have empathy because Christ had that for us, you know, and we just have to trust in the Lord because we want to get out of things. We want to, you know, find our way through it instead of relying on getting through it with Jesus.
Yep.
That's the only way. And I have to remind myself on a daily basis. But you know, that's my 2 cents. I mean, if you're out there and you don't know Christ, I mean, give him a chance, get to know him. He died for your sins, the free gift of salvation. Because you were born sinful, and nobody's going to teach you how to do these sinful things. You're just going to do them. And unless you have Christ in your heart and you trust him over yourself and your friends and your pastors, you got to go to Jesus.
I'm glad you ended your comment with that because I thought you were going to end with, you know, guys, yeah, because you were born.
That was beautifully said.
Yeah, thank
Well
you.
done.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was.
I agree, and I think I'm going to build off of that too. Just talking about
Please.
the imperfection, because I think it's kind of a good lesson for anybody listening, whether that's to us or McAllister or whoever, right? Is that
Did you say McAllister?
no, I didn't. So we're gonna ignore that.
All right.
Conor McGregor.
That's the one.
Were UFC in this? No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. We
forgot
don't
his
want to steal
name.
your thunder. Alistair
Alistair.
Begg.
Yeah. So
Put them together. Go
it was just I was seeing if you guys are paying attention.
No, that's cool.
But
It's one monster.
the thing is that it's a good lesson because no matter who you're listening to, you should be fact checking them.
Yeah.
And
Because they're humans too.
they are. And that's exactly it because they're humans and they're imperfect.
And don't fact check them on Google.
Not Google, no. The thing is that because we live in an imperfect world, everybody's going to make mistakes, just like we all do. He's imperfect, we're imperfect. The only thing that is perfect and true is this, and that's why you have to fact check everything he says, we say, your pastor says, everything. Because you know what? He may say something that's wrong, or will say something that's wrong. It's not, everybody says something wrong. And so the only thing that is true and that is forever real, no matter the time, just like we talked about before, is the Bible.
Right. Yeah. Well said, man. That's it. We gotta trust in the Lord.
Yeah.
And that's the best fact checker right there is the Bible.
It is.
Study, dude. Open it up.
I'm glad you brought that up too, because how many times, Kevin, throughout the years have we done this podcast and told people, don't listen to everything that we say.
Oh yeah.
We're just four laymen here reading the scriptures and trying to get through it like we can. We haven't been to seminary. most of us haven't even been all the way through college. Some of us are pilots and doing something great with their life.
You just taking shots at people now? What are you doing?
How can I take shots at anybody when I'm, if not worse?
We all are, dude.
Yeah, but I mean that's the thing. We're all for.
We're right here. We're doing this, and we're just, like I said, don't just 100% write off Alistair because we said what we had to say. We're gonna put that video up. You can go and research what he said on your own.
If there's one thing you can do, a call to action for this is to pray. Pray for him. Pray for your pastors, guys, because that's a prime example. This
human.
man has been doing it for his
Christ said, "Don't put
whole
all your
adult
faith
life.
into man."
yeah, and I know that I try and make a point to pray for people
And
in
I
leadership.
I can almost bet that everybody in this room has probably put our own personal pastor on a pedestal.
Oh yeah.
And we're like, this guy has got it all figured out. And I can almost bet that everybody in this room has had a personal relationship with our pastor, and he immediately was like, okay, he's just like us.
Yeah. We're all humans, man.
He's a sinner just like us. So we
Anybody
can't put
claiming to
anybody
not-
on a pedestal.
yeah, to be better.
And people are going to say stupid stuff. We're going to say a lot more stupid things on this podcast, I'm sure. And in life, we're probably not going to tell old ladies to buy gifts for their transgender weddings, but we learned that lesson. Thank you, Alistair.
Everything is a lesson. That's another good point.
For sure. Yeah,
In
for
life,
sure. Watch what you're doing.
If you are in a rough patch and you're like, I just don't want to be here.
a
There's
lot to
something
learn.
that you're learning from that.
For
There's something.
sure.
There is a lesson in everything.
And I hope that we all can learn it before it's too late. I mean, there's great apologists and great theologians that their garbage came out after they died. And that stinks.
Yeah, I like that you said that too, because that was something I learned as a state FFA officer, was that struggles are not meant to be punishments. They're meant to be lessons so then you can help somebody else, or you can learn from it, or as cheesy as it may sound, speech material.
Yeah,
I
stop crying.
Wow.
Yeah, Brandon.
And they always say the Lord gives his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers, right?
I loved that saying, and then I think it was John MacArthur was like, "Stop saying that."
Really?
He's punishing you because you're a sinner.
Yeah.
Okay, golly.
We're all sinners, man. We're
Yeah,
all sinners, and if we weren't, we wouldn't need a savior.
I think MacArthur or one of them said, "It's not because you're his strongest soldier; it's because you keep messing up."
He's trying to make you a stronger soldier.
Right. It's all character development. I mean,
Yeah.
it was like I was listening to a podcast the other day, and he was saying how, it's like, look at fame, for example, right? And somebody who gets famous overnight, you go nuts. They're weird. They're like, But then somebody, let's say like somebody I look up to a lot is Chris Pratt. I really like Chris Pratt. And he talks about how then when he finally gets that award and he's on stage, he goes, for so many years I've been working for this, and all of it is because of Jesus Christ, right? And so it's all character development. And so you can look at it it's all about perspective. You can look at it with a bad attitude of, man, my life sucks, and there's nothing I can do about it. Or you can say, it's character development. That's going to make me better for
Jesus got a
somebody
plan.
else.
Yeah, he's got a plan, man.
Here's the biggest thing that we all can take away from this. That if you're going to talk about it,
Be about it.
yeah.